Well, time has come for another beautiful speaker. Do you go by Annette or Annetta Price? Annette Price. And she loves working with horses. I'm a big fan of horses. They've helped me out a lot in my life. And they're just amazing four-leggeds. And so I'm been wanting to hear her speak since I saw her bio online. So please welcome Annette Price. And thank you very much.
I have no preference. Just not in my, yeah. All right. Hello. Yeah, I'm actually a mover. I was just going to be challenged to stand here. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Thanks, you guys, for all staying here this evening. I mean, we came here at 13 hours ago at opening ceremony. It feels like this has been quite a day. So I'd just like to tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm standing up here. I was a Missouri farm girl. I grew up with horses. I played around in 4-H, and I was the cowgirl, riding across the pastures as fast as I could go, and enjoying life immensely in that realm. About 25 years ago, I had a pretty earth-shattering, life-changing event happen in my life, and I had to decide whether or not I was going to stay on the planet. And I decided that if I did, I needed to find another way to be. I had to find another way to live. And amazing things just started to unfold in front of me. I'm also a writer. I love people's stories. How they got from point A to point B is fascinating to me. My own story fascinates me. It's kind of interesting how you walk down the path and you can turn left or right, and then after that you can turn left or right again, and you find out, you wake up one day and you find where you are, and it can be a pretty amazing thing. I call myself a folkloric herbalist. Actually, it was 20 years ago. I studied with a man, Elliot Cowan, on plant spirit medicine, and I learned the spiritual aspects of plants. And through that course of study, this little Missouri farm girl kind of morphed into something else, because I had shamanic journey training. Looking at the spiritual aspects of plants changed the spiritual aspect of who I was also. From there, I just started, I got into this healing. I just couldn't get enough study. I studied Reiki. I'm in a training right now, which we kind of call etheric clearing work. It doesn't really have a name yet, but it's working with the bodies and from the cellular structure out. And in the course of studies, I've just met some fascinating people. I was at some friends of mine's house when Standing Elk came, and he had his manuscript, and we started a study group about, I don't know, I think it's probably 14 or 15 years ago, and studied that for a year, every symbol we did for 1 month, and took it forward from there. And I met this woman, Reverend Carrie Chapman. Some of you might know Carrie. But I was having a private conversation with her, and she said, "You could work with horses." And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. You know, I've been a real estate appraiser for 20 years. I'm kind of tired of that. But, you know, but I couldn't see what it looked like. I didn't have a vision. I couldn't visualize it. So I kind of kept on doing what I was doing, got my son out of school, and did some things. And but I was looking at life a lot differently. And all of a sudden I turned around one day, and there was another teacher in front of me, and her name was Melissa Pierce, and she had a program for equine gestalt work. So I signed up, not immediately, but it took me a while to sign up for it. But the most amazing things with Melissa's program it put together all the different things that I had been studying. It was like a basket that held everything. So I'm standing here right now, and I'm trying to bring in the presence of horses because I think they have something that they want me for me to tell you. One of the last 4 or 5 years is watching how the horses are healing people physically. They are physically offering healing energy to people. So as an equine gestalt coach, I've been trained to work with people to help them find their own ahas. It's not talk therapy, it's experiential. We set up things, we call them pieces of work or an experiment or something, and the person will move through something, and all of a sudden, they will light up and they will get their own aha. How the horse plays into this is horses read energy. That's how they've stayed on the planet. That's how they've survived for all these thousands of years, is by reading people's energy, reading energy. They can talk to each other. For instance, I take my horse is an incredible healer, but we were on a trail ride one time, and we came to a place in the trail where it was slick rock, and it scared me. And I'm like, I told my friend, I said, you might want to find another way to go. This is really slick up here, and you know, you might want to find another way to get through this. And she goes, just close your eyes and trust your horse. You know, her survival instincts are incredible. That's how she's stayed alive. That's how she stayed present on the planet. And she said, by the time I get there, my horse is going to know it already anyway, because horses communicate to each other non-verbally. When I heard Ukwala this morning, in the very first speaker, he was talking about being with a group of brothers in Colombia, and they sat in total silence because they were talking, they were communicating through telepathy. The horses have this telepathy. They communicate with each other. They do it through, I don't exactly know how they do it, quite frankly. I don't know if anybody does, but I don't. But I know that they do. When, I have to take a breath here. When a person comes into the arena with my horse, I watch my horse and she tells me things about that person. She's reading their energy. She doesn't care about their story, which is fascinating to me because I am a storyteller. I like to understand that as well. But my horse, Lakota, she reads their energy, and I have seen her do things like, if somebody's walking around and they're telling a story and they get off track, she will totally leave them. She will just walk away from them. And if they come back into alignment, if they shift into something that's making more sense to them, and their face lights up, whatever happens to them physically, all of a sudden, she's in connection with them again because they're in connection with herself. She reads that energy inside them. She reads their inner energy. She works from the inside out. A couple of years ago, I started writing about this process I was going through, and one of the things that I wanted to do with people is to help them come back into nature, to come back into understanding their own intuition. Horses live in the now. We hear that a lot, you know, be here now, but they honestly do. They have emotions, but they don't have worry. They don't carry grudges. They communicate their, it's maybe silent, but it's totally understandable to them, and you can learn to read it. If there is a problem in the herd, it will come up. How many people here have horses, by the way? Okay. If you have ever had a chance or get a chance to watch them or want to come out and watch mine, it's absolutely fascinating. But if there's a disagreement in the herd, it comes up, it's big, it's discussed, and 2 seconds later it's solved, and everybody dissolves back in to the peace and quiet that they all want. It's in the now. It's in the moment. It's taken care of, and it's moving forward. Yeah, they keep trying to tell me something here to say. As a storyteller, I'll tell you a little story. I had a client, and him and his wife came out, and they wanted to do something different, and they had a great marriage, but they wanted to cement some things. And so I was sitting there with him, and we had this great talk, and we kind of did a little introduction, and I'm listening to my guidance, listening to their words, and watching my horse. And so I asked my guides, I said, because I never feel like I do this work alone anyway. There's always people around me. There's my angels and my guides. I believe there's my horse's guides and her angels as well. So I asked the guides what we could do with this couple, an experiment, a plaything, that would allow them to work together. And the message I got was to do a blindfolded obstacle course. And I went, oh, shoot, I have no idea what that looks like. It sounds scary. And so I just sat there for a second. I said, I want plan B. What else could we do? I got nothing. So there we are. We're stuck. I am incredibly dry. I can hardly speak here. So we did... So I had a friend with me, a horse handler, and I took her inside, and I said, this is what I got. We're going to do... Thank you so much. We're going to do a blindfold obstacle course with this couple. And this couple didn't know horses. They didn't have any experience. They were open and willing to try things new, but they didn't have any horse experience. So we went in the house, and I got a blindfold, and I'm really like, I try not to question the guidance I get, but this one was kind of like pushing my boundaries. I was a little uncomfortable. So we went back outside, and I put on I chose to do the wife first. And so we blindfolded the wife, and she was going to lead the horse, and she was blindfolded, and her husband was going to give her directions around an obstacle course, and we were doing it in my yard because it was pretty hot, and I have enormous shade trees, and so there was natural obstacles, and I put a couple of chairs out. So I non-verbally guided the husband. I waved to him to go around a chair or under a tree or whatever, and he guided her. He could talk to her, but he couldn't touch her, and she had a hold of the horse. My main goal was to keep their feet from coming together, because if you get stepped on by a horse, that would change your day. And everything went beautifully. I mean, it was a beautiful experiment. They talked really well. They had excellent communication. You could tell that they had a great rapport with one another. So that piece came to an end. And we took a little break, and I put the blindfold on the husband, and now it's his wife's turn to take him around an obstacle course. And I had watched him, and I already knew that he had memorized the course that she had done. So I thought, well, that's not fair. So we switched it up a little bit, and they take off again. We're watching them. I'm watching everything that's going on, and I have a helper that's watching to keep their feet far apart so they don't get hurt that way. And all of a sudden, I kind of start watching my horse, and she is like nudging him and throwing her head into his shoulder and being kind of disrespectful. And I could have thought, oh my God, my horse is acting up. I wonder why she's doing that. But that's not what I know is happening. So I said, stop. Let's stop this experiment right here. And he said, oh my God, I'm glad you stopped this, because she's really getting on my nerves. It's getting worse. And I said, well, what's going on? Well, she's pushing me, and she's disrespectful, and, and I'm not happy about this. And he reached up, and I thought he was going to take the blindfold off. And I said, don't do that yet. Just hold that on, and just scratch around it, but leave your blindfold on. So we stopped just for a second, and I had him take a couple of deep breaths and just hang out. And I said, what in your life does this feel like? And the guy stood there for a second or two, and he said, at work, I have a friend that I'm in business with, and he's taking advantage of me. He's pushing me around. He's not listening to what I say. He's not open to suggestions. We're having issues, and it's really a problem because we're friends. We started out friends, and then we went into this business, so this is really growing uncomfortable to me. So I went, oh my gosh, okay. So I said, what I'd like for you to do now is just ground yourself into the earth, ground yourself into your energy. Feel the energy of the earth coming up. Listen to what your body is telling you, and just be here for a second. And so we watched him, and I looked at my friend who was helping me, my horse handler, and I just went, oh my God, do you see this? Because all of a sudden he's standing up tall, his shoulders go back, his chin comes up, he totally takes possession of who he is and what he needs to do and responsibility for himself. And I said, are you ready now? And he took off, and they finished the obstacle course. My horse was totally respectful, and everything about where that situation had changed. Everything had changed. Now, that could be a tiny, teeny-weeny little thing. And I was just like amazed. I hadn't seen it. I can't train her to do that. I don't know exactly where that came from her. But we finished the course, and we took it off, everybody's blindfolds off, and we went and sat down, and the couple went nuts. They started talking about how they were getting ready to have a second child, and they didn't know if they could love their second child as much as their first, and they didn't know if they had enough love, and they were worried that it would pull them apart. All of these things came up and bubbled up all through them. There's no way I could have known all that. There's no way my horse knew that. But she picked up, I believe, on an energy that was discorded inside of himself, and pantomimed that back to him till he got it, till I got it, till we saw what happened. The triggers were all his own. The scenario was all his own. And when he took ownership and leadership and responsibility, she goes, cool, that's all I wanted you to do in the first place. I'll walk with you. I'll go anywhere with you. And off they went, and that was the end. That was one thing. I mean, I could tell you dozens and dozens more stories of things that have happened. On another level that's captivating me right now, though, and why I feel like this is an important thing, we're sitting here today and incredible healers. We just watched Shirley do this amazing thing. And I think the healing paradigms are changing. Things are happening. Things are being seeded to this planet that have never, maybe we haven't noticed before or haven't been here before. And I have watched horses heal chakras and balance chakras. I know horses that that's their specialty. They will walk up to you and just move around your body, and I can physically watch people change. I just watched their bodies change. It's nothing I could do. And I just keep saying this because it's absolutely true. I can't teach horses to do that. We're not teaching them to do that. They know it themselves. They're bringing it to us now. They pantomime like Lakota did for the husband. She pantomimed something that was not smooth and harmonious inside of him and helped him figure it out. He figured it out himself because it was his issue. I have seen them. There's a thing that they do sometimes. Okay, I'm seeing another story in my head. There was a girl that was walking around the arena, and she was a friend of mine, and she's very good with words. She's an excellent storyteller. She's captivating. She pulls you in, and you just want to like hang out with her. But Lakota didn't care about her story, and she was in a loop. She was telling a story that was a limiting belief that was holding her back, that she told the story so well. She knew when, she knew when to pause. It was practiced. It was practiced. And it didn't hold Lakota's attention at all. Lakota moved off to the side of the round pen, and she started doing this thing that we call leeching. It's a physical thing you can watch them do. And so I didn't say anything, and I kind of pulled back from my friend's story, but I'm watching her body. Her story doesn't interest me either because I've already heard it too. So we're all kind of bored. But I watched Lakota, and she's doing this thing, which I know is pulling negative energy off of this person. And so I just watch her. And the same thing happens. She's walking, her stride gets longer, her shoulders drop to a natural position, she raises her head, she's engaging in the world, and she has absolutely no idea what happened to, And it doesn't really matter what happened. It's just that this horse had the ability to take something away from her that didn't serve her. And that's the kind of thing that I've been fascinated with for the last, probably the last 4 or 5 years. I'm not the only one that's fascinated. There are places and people across the country who are watching the same thing and are interested in the same thing. And it's going to be interesting to see where all this goes. It's like a new thing. I think the horses, now when I watch the horses interact with each other, I believe they've been doing this to themselves. They go out, mutual grooming. You might have seen horses, they're standing head to tail, and they groom each other. And I've watched them do different things, and now that I'm watching it in a different way, I think that every day they check each other's chakras, they put each other in balance. There's no negative energy that hangs out between two horses because it's settled immediately, because it doesn't work for them to have unfinished business. Gestalt works so well with the horses because it is to make the person whole. To make whole is what Gestalt means. So the equine Gestalt coaching, reading the energy, reading the body language of the person, and then watching the physical traits change and watching them have aha moments about their personal lives and things that are going on, has been a fascinating journey. I'd just like to say a couple things, and I'd open this up for questions, and if we get out of here a little early, that would be fine too, because I actually have a workshop tomorrow too, so and a long drive home. One of the things we did is, and I've got a couple of the books, is that we put together a book of different people who are doing the equine Gestalt coaching like I'm doing, and I think there's 15 stories in here and also some poetry, but it is a way to read what the horses are offering and to see what's going on in the world. And it's interesting to go from Dave, who was here first, talking about the goddess energy, which I believe is a part of everything that's happening right now, to talk about what Shirley was doing with the numbers and the DNA and making the changes inside of us. And I don't know that it matters how we make those changes, but we have to get ourselves more in alignment with what's going on in the planet. The byline for my coaching business is a spiritual journey back to self, walking beside a horse, because that's what I feel like I can offer, is this healing paradigm these horses are showing us. And I'd like to just ask if anybody has any questions or anything right now, because this is kind of a new thing. It's a little hard to talk about. It's definitely one of those things that's easier to experience and see than it actually is to talk about it, except through the stories like I shared with you tonight. So, does anybody have any questions?
Do you have any experience with hippotherapy?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any experience with hippotherapy?
Mm-hmm. Hippotherapy is putting a rider on a horse's back and the movement of the horse walking stimulates the spinal column from the base all the way up to the crown of the head and out. When my son was getting ready to graduate from high school, I was a single mom like forever. That's when I decided to bring horses back in my life. And I volunteered at Colorado Therapeutic Riding Center outside of Lafayette here in Colorado. I'm local. And worked with that. And for 3 years, I worked with a class of young boys, mostly autistic with variations of autistic tendencies. And the little boy I worked with, I actually never even knew if he knew where he was. You know, he's totally nonverbal. And in hippotherapy, you have a horse, you have a rider, you have a person that leads the horse, and you have a person on either side to steady the rider. Because if an airplane went overhead, he would fall off the horse. He would just, And one day his mother came to me and she said, you know, this has been the most amazing experience for us. And I said, really? You know, that's great. I mean, I love doing it, but I don't feel like, you know, we have this personal connection. She told me that every night before his riding class, he put out his cowboy clothes to get ready to come. And so it didn't matter that I wasn't making a connection to him. The horse was making a connection to him. It was important to him. And I just got goosebumps all up and down my body. It was physically moving his body and bringing back a muscle memory. It's totally an amazing thing to watch. A part of this work, one of the things I did last summer was a friend of mine, a woman I met in Arizona actually, was going to start a new workshop with veterans, Vietnam vets, that's my generation. I mean, that's where a lot of my friends went. And so that was an amazing experience. I worked with them for 3.5 months last summer down in Golden. And just setting up these experiments, walking, you know, giving each of these veterans picked a horse. We went out and we had all these horses to choose from, and they all chose a horse. And that was their horse then for the next 4 months, 3.5 months. And they were in charge of, you know, learning how to put a halter on, grooming them. And all of the work that we did, and most of the stuff we do, is on the ground. It's all groundwork. It's not really, there's very, very, very little riding. Every once in a while, something happens where it feels like you can elevate. Because I do women's self-esteem workshops a lot, just helping women to get back to nature and listen to their own inner guidance and their own intuition. Intuition is enormous for me. Actually, that's what Uqala said this morning, is that intuition is the sacred word within your own heart. That's how he started this morning, and I just went, oh my God, that's so cool. But it's basically, it's just, first of all, I'm the person that I am, and my partner is a 900-pound horse. She's pretty unforgettable. If she teaches you a lesson, it's not something that you easily forget. And the end thing we did with these veterans, which was the most amazing experiment, was we had them, they were blindfolded again. That's kind of funny. I forgot about that. They were blindfolded, and they went by each horse, and we asked them to see if they could pick their horse by smell. Now, I personally think horses smell. There's just something luscious about a nice, clean horse. It's great. And every one of them picked their horse. Whoa, that amazed me. One guy, he cheated because he had Princess, and Princess was a mini, and he had to bend down to sniff her, so that didn't really count. But I think there was 6 men, and every one of them picked their own horse. And I was just like, whoa, that is so amazing. So there's a connection that happens when you're given that responsibility. The veterans talked about learning communication skills, relationship skills, because when you're working with a 900-pound animal and you're asking it to do something and it flips you off, that's a big flip off, you know. And they could relate it to coming back and trying to be with their partners, their life partners, their wives, their children, and having things come up for them, and how did they deal with them, and how could they deal with them differently? How can you convince a 900-pound animal that this is really a good thing to do? And you sort through things, and you work through things, and you try different avenues, and you know, you just keep working at it. And they're amazing teachers, and they reading your energy, working from the inside out. Every horse reacted differently to every veteran's issue. There's no way you can program it. You set something up, but you never have an idea. You know, you can't be focused on the outcome, because you know there's no way to know what's going to happen, and you don't know what's going on with that fellow. You know what he's bringing to the table either. So it's just wonder after wonder after wonder. It's an amazing new thing. New to me, kind of new to where we are. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting, because we've been talking all day, and I've been talking for many, many, many years about, you know, maybe we're seeded from the stars, maybe we're seeded. So I have this idea that that this thing about working with the horses was kind of seeded to the planet Earth also, because about 20 years ago, there were several people just in the United States and maybe around the world, but I don't know about them. Linda Karakoff wrote a book called The Tao of Equus, talking about how this horse had turned her life around, and she was a therapist, and she started working with people and horses in her neck of the woods. And my teacher, Melissa Pierce, was a Gestalt therapist in Arizona, had a thriving practice, also raised paint horses, and started watching her clients go out and, you know, bend over the fence and pet horses and talk to them about what was going on for them, and started putting her horses and clients together. And then I live in Platteville, Colorado now, and one of the reasons I got out there was a woman, Jill Eldridge, who about 20 years ago was a therapist, loved horses, and started putting people and horses together. So it's like an idea was seeded to the planet. Some people had that scenario all set up where all the pieces came together for them. Their work looks different. It's not exactly the same, but they bring people, you know, they find the people, the clients that want to work the way they're working. So it's just, I don't know, I like that synchronicity. It just blows my mind. So, is there any other questions? Well, I also, like I said, I do have these books. I only have a limited number, but I have access to an unlimited number. Back on the table, and I have a workshop tomorrow too. Since Spirit hasn't told me yet what we're going to do, I have no freaking idea, but I think it'll be fun. You know, that's so funny. My one of the girls that graduated after I did is going to be here tomorrow, and we were talking about that. You know, I could have trailered my horse up here. We could have done things differently, and absolutely not. It's too cold. But I'll invite all of you out to my house if you want to come to Platteville. It's just 45 minutes down the road. So thank you so much for staying awake and coming and listening to me tonight. And I invite you to come in to the workshop tomorrow. It'll be a lot of fun. I just don't know what they have planned for you yet. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Do you like it?
Oh, yeah, I loved
Cool.
it. It was
Have a
great.
hug.
Yeah,
Have a little
absolutely.
interview.
Oh, sure. Oh, smush
Thank you.
your specs. I thought your specs were hanging there. Anyway.
Oh, no, I have all this glitter on.
It's just glittering.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good night, everybody. And remember, tomorrow morning around 6:15, if you're feeling the sunrise ceremony, please follow your feelings and connect with that in the morning. And thank you all, and have a wonderful night. So my buddy, I have a plumber buddy. I can tell him he's my plumber buddy. He's got in a car accident not too long ago. He slid like 70 feet and then rear-ended this guy. Well, he's elk hunting, and they took horses off. And I just talked to him like 2 days ago. And I said, well, "How you feeling?" I said, "Why didn't you come in and work on me?" You know? He goes, I go, "How's everything?" He goes, "I'm hurt, man." He goes, "I've been going to the chiropractor and all of life. The best time I felt was when I was on that horse." He goes, "I haven't been able to sit up straight hardly." And he goes, "That